Okay, so today what we're going to do is just go through proportions, continue with the character proportions, and in this video we're going to use a reference image. So I've provided that on Teams. So I'm just going to press A to select all, and then just press delete to delete the cube, and I'm going to just add image reference. I'm going to add that to my downloads. I'm going to go and select the reference image that I need, which should be can't seem to find it. There you go. Got it. Cool. Alright, so yeah, we got this reference image, and this is basically what we're going to use to scale our characters 7 heads high, and we basically just need to break this down into, again, basic shapes. So all you want to do is just use basic shapes to get your sort of character base created. So what we're going to do is just I'm going to use the annotate tool, and I'm just going to go through using the basic shape. So typically what you would do for like a torso, this is how I typically draw out a character. So I would use the bean method. So I'd use 2 circles, and then I draw sort of the spine of the character, and in between these 2 beans, I mean, I guess the lowest half of the bean would be the hips of the character, and then out of that you can bring where your legs are going to go, and then from there you draw your characters' feet and stuff. Again, I'm not even really doing this to scale. At the top of the bean, I guess, yeah, and also the bean's supposed to be basically just the full body of the character. So that's where the bean is, right? So it's just, you use the you want to make the bean basically the torso, and then from there you just pull out the limbs, like the shoulders, the arms, and then you put the joints in, and that's how you can sort of start off with making a character. I'm not saying this is the best method for doing characters, but this is something I've used before, and it just involves a lot of circles. Obviously at the top of the neck you would have the head, and then from there you would just have sort of the basis of your character design. Again, I'm doing this with a mouse, so it's not really I've not got the most freedom to do what I want in terms of drawing. But yeah, so at the front of this bean you would have the chest I was drawing in there. You can actually start to pull out the lats in the back muscles to get that sort of taper down for the rib cage. Would go here and here, and then like I would slowly just build up the character. And then you just draw like sort of small shapes for the arms and stuff like that. It's looking like a mess at this point, But essentially, this is what I used to do in terms of like just sketching out a quick character design, and then I just know, at least I know what the proportions are before I start drawing anything. And I sort of want to take this same principle into the method of like modeling a character. So you would start like just building everything up, like let's put the shoulder there, you'd have the bicep coming out, and then you'd have the triceps back there, you'd pull in forearms, and then at the bottom you'd have another hand, and then you'd have sort of a character design. It does make the character look really stocky, but it kind of gives you like an overall sense of a character outline. But how would I break this down into sort of basic shapes? So let me just get rid of this. So like I said, I would use sort of a bean for the torso. So in 3D, that translates to either like 2 circles. So it could be like your top circle and then your bottom circle slightly smaller, and then you'd have sort of your own sort of bean there, and on top of that you can put the triangle, circle for the shoulders. So you know that at least to start off with, you could start off with either one or two things. Actually, I'd say like you could probably start off with 3 different methods. So the first method is using a sphere and then elongating a sphere, like pulling out from the sphere, so pulling down, and then you would get like that bean shape, so like 2 round points at the top of the bottom. The second way you could do this is with a cube. So let's say I've got a square, I've rotated it on an axis. The next thing I could do is add another primitive, which would be a cylinder, to be like sort of this midsection here. So you can add a cylinder, and then for the hips you can do a I would say like a semicircle, or you can just do another square and then for the hips, but like this one's more angled downwards, so the tilt is different. I would usually tilt the chest to be facing a bit higher, and then the hips to be sort of rotated down, and this is just based on like basic anatomy. So that's the second way, using 2 cubes and of different widths. So obviously the top half of the torso is smaller than wider than the bottom half of the torso, proportionally, and you just add those same proportions to the cube for the top half of the body. So it'll be like 3 head widths wide for the top, and then 2 head widths wide for the bottom to create. Actually, no, is it 2? I think it's 2 or 1 head widths wide for the actual pelvis area, or it's the bottom half of the torso area, and that run through all the way up until the top half of the torso. So that's the second phase. So 1 would be just extracting a ball, but you can see why you wouldn't get as many proportions if you just pull down from a ball. 2 would be like doing this method using basic shapes and then scaling each shape to match the desired proportions. Again, also with 2, you probably have to start with that head shape. So start with a cube for the head, and then you can start mapping out the proportions. Or the third way of doing it would be I guess 1 and 2, because I don't necessarily use many more methods than this, other than I think these like, other than actually like box modeling, like I would start with 1. Third way I would be starting off with a cube and then box modeling the torso out of one cube. So you start over your normal cube, and then whoops, and then you out of that you like subdivide it, and then start off like modeling sort of the torso out of those subdivisions, but you just be working with one cube. So let's just say you've got the torso here, and but you're just basically just using this to the cube to like extrusions and stuff like that you can do in editing to actually make the torso. So this is not the best design, but I hope you get what I mean. So you can either use extrusion methods, so that's pulling down from a cube, but that's in like edit mode, and then extruding out these different parts. You can use multiple objects and put them together and then remesh them and sculpt, or you can start with a sphere, pull it out in sculpt mode after remeshing, and then like start modeling that way. For this episode, I'm actually going to use the second option, just so you can understand some of the basic shapes that's used in making a torso. So just using primitives so you can understand the basic shapes that's used to make the torso, the arms, the legs and stuff like that. And yeah, hopefully it's a bit more, you get a bit more of understanding of how to make a torso. So in the next video we'll go through actually just from scratch using the second method. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next episode.